Good evening, Crimson Tide Nation, and welcome to the 49th edition of Alabama Crimson Tide Live, all right here on Alabama with Voice College Football. And I'm Jackson Johnson, yours truly, and we've got a wild show for you tonight, and you'll be seeing some magic from not only myself, but Jeffrey Only Talk Sports, Coach Burtz, and Coach Smook, where we go over our take on the latest news and notes on the Alabama Crimson Tide. And let me tell you something, folks. You're going to be in for a wild ride. And before we get to the magic that our hosts are going to be bringing in just a little bit, before I bring them on, we've got the YouTube membership tiers for Alabama with the Voice College Football. For $2.99 a month, you can become a Crimson Faithful member, where you'll get a loyalty badge next to your name. And in the comments in the live chat, custom emoji to use in the comments and the live chat, and you get member shout-outs. And for $4.99 a month, you can become a Saber Disciple, where you'll get priority replies to comments and access to a monthly hangout from yours truly, Jackson Johnson, Coach Johnny Burtz, Jeffrey Only Talk Sports, and Coach Smook and friends. And for $9.99 a month, you can become a Bear Bryant legend just by connecting on social media with each of us and giving out content requests of any kind. And neither rain nor sleet nor snow nor this god-awful, miserable heat advisory will put a stop to us from fulfilling your content request, all right here on Alabama at the Voice of College Football. And he is the host of the Coach Smook Network and the co-host of Alabama Primetime Live. Give it up for Coach Smook Hines.
What's up, man? What's good, everybody? How y'all feeling tonight? Roll Tide in the chat. I see y'all 16 popping in between all three platforms, man. What's up, Jackson? How you feeling?
What's up, Coach? How you doing tonight, good buddy?
Listen, man, I'm glad to be home. You know, I've been gone for the past 3 weeks. I was off in Arkansas, back there in Pig Sooie land, right there on the edge of the Sooner land, too, man. I was right there with the Oklahoma guys. So definitely glad to be back in studio. Hopefully my audio sounds good for the chat, man. And I see y'all tapping in, man. We have it streaming over on Voice of College Football, both on Twitter and YouTube. And we also have it streaming on the Coach Smook Network. If you're on the Coach Smook Network, tap that like on the stream over there, but also jump in on the Alabama Voice of College Football side. Tap in, subscribe, hit your notifications, make sure all your notifications are on so that you can be up to date with all of your Alabama informative coverage of our Alabama Crimson Tide during this fall football season. Jackson, are you ready to get into the show tonight, man?
Oh, I am so ready, Coach. Let's bring on our other co-host. He is.
Go ahead, man. Introduce him. Bring him on.
He's the son-in-law of former Alabama quarterback Coach Wayne Trimble, and he's got some fun. He's got a funny dog named Roscoe, the one and only himself, Coach Johnny Burtz.
What's up, Coach Johnny?
Oh, it's all good. Roscoe's not with me. He's upstairs, but yeah, we're down in the cellar and ready to roll.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
3 weeks or less than 3 weeks away. So let's bring it on. Let's talk some
go. Let's freaking go. And he is the host of Only Talk Sports. He's the co-host of Crimson Tide Live and the co-host with myself on the Alabama College Show, where he talks a lot about college football, college basketball, or gives his take on Alabama football, or at least he tries to. The one and only himself, Jeffrey Only Talk Sports.
Hey, guys. How's it going tonight? Excited to talk some more Alabama football with you all. 49th edition of the show. We've got many more coming as we get through closer to the football season, into the football season. Like Coach Johnny said, only 3 weeks away. I cannot believe that we're this close to the return of college football. You can smell it in the air, man. I'm so excited.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Man, I'm excited too, man. So let's get into it, y'all. We got a lot to talk about. It's been a while since I've been on screen with you guys. And I'm excited just for Alabama football overall. As you all know, today we had Alabama Media Day. We had a lot of player interviews. Damani Jackson, Quay Roos are some of the headliners for the defensive side. James Smith LT Overton kind of took the cake today with some of the things that he said with the mentality. It had Ryan Williams, of course, Jeremy Bernard showing up for the offensive side. We're going to get into a few of these takes today, but overall, man, I want to go around the table. Tonight, we just want to give our thoughts thus far. We're getting right into the meat of the real part of fall practice. We've had about 4 practices now under our belt. Give me your thoughts on what are some of the things that you're hearing, some of the things that you're seeing from the interviews. Coach Johnny, take it away. What is your feels around this Alabama Crimson Tide squad going into this 2025 fall season?
Well, I've been watching, a lot of tape and everything, and it looks really good, really good. A lot of experience. I can't wait till we talk about the top 25, everything starting to get released. I mean, we're less than 3 weeks away, and I scratched myself in the head, like where are some of these predictions, like Ohio State, Texas, everybody, 1 and 2 or 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, that kind of stuff. But as far as Alabama, it looks pretty good. I mean, you have a lot of depth. You've got a lot of returning starters. You've got a lot of experience. And obviously, we've got a quarterback, but that is, it's going to be his first step in the ring. I'm just going to tell you right now, it's going to be Ty Simpson. They'll announce it first of the week. They're going to leave everything open and that kind of stuff, competition and all of that. But right now, after about a week into fall practice, next week at the first week, they're going to make a decision because that's got to be laid to rest. The longer they let it roll on, the more talk and scuttlebutt and confusion. So that'll be laid to rest. I feel good about him. He's the coach's son. He is a guy that has been around the program for a while. And so excited with regard to that, excited with regard to the offensive line. Got some, we'll talk about, the Outland Trophy and stuff like that. And then defensively, guys, a lot of depth there. And so I've been watching what they're teaching, technique and stuff like that. It's all good. It's really, really good. I'm excited. Very excited.
Loving it transition. It seemed like there's a massive reception from this group of guys, this team here. Compared to last year, a lot of questions in the locker room, who was really willing to phase into the new way of doing things to create a new way of winning.
I'm sorry. Too, Coach, and it goes to first year. Nobody knew a lot. But now we have continuity. Yep. And now we got a ton of players that did not jump the boat, did not leave, that are there. They know the routine. They're comfortable. That they now will, last year we talked a lot about identity. Was Alabama running team, passing team, defense, all this stuff. Now these guys know. And so that's going to be the biggest asset for Alabama.
100%. Coach Jeffrey, talk to me, man. I know you've been giving your takes over the past few weeks, man, as things have kind of ramped up. Give me your thoughts right now where you're sitting after today's media day. I know you're big on getting on top of those things, man. Give me your thoughts, man.
Oh, absolutely. I feel like there's a lot of high energy when it comes to Alabama football for this preseason. You see the players, they're confident with their media, reports and the Q&As, all that kind of stuff. I mean, I know that they have to be, energetic. You can't be going out there and, sounding like, oh, we're not ready. We got a lot of work on. They're going to hype it up. They're going to make sure that, hey, things are going well. We're doing well. But I feel the confidence and energy coming from them during the, the media days and reports that they're doing. And with fall camp so far, I agree with Coach Johnny on his assessment that I feel like the defense is ahead of the offense. Our defense is going to be a lot better this year. We've got so much depth, experience, returning guys all across the board with the linebackers, defensive line, secondary. So I'm very confident in all those position groups that they're going to take steps forward this season. I feel like our offense, it has its strong points. Receiver, I think, is strong. I like Horton. I like Bernard. Ryan Williams, he's a stud. I just loves hearing him talk about the game of football. Love seeing, his tape. He's going to be one of the best receivers this year. And it's all about who's getting the ball to him. I agree with Coach as well that it's going to be Ty Simpson. He's going to be the starter. But they're just kind of holding it out, I think, because why name the starter? You don't have to. You're not obligated to do so. I mean, everybody's like, oh, you should name a starter. You don't have to. I don't understand this notion that you have to name a starter. It's not a big deal. Ty Simpson's going to be the guy. It's just hasn't been named yet. It's not a big deal. So I think that Simpson is going to be fine. I don't think he's going to be by far one of our better quarterbacks in the last decade or two, but he's going to be solid enough. He's going to have enough talent around him on the edge. They need to run the ball more, as Coach mentioned as well. We had an identity problem last year, not running the ball consistently outside of Milroe with the QB run. So I want to see some more actual run plays to running backs, get Jam Miller involved, get some of our other backs involved. We always have talented running back rooms. And then our offensive line, I think is going to take a step forward this year as well. I like some of the things we've done there. So overall, I'm liking the vibe for this season. I think it's positive. I think it's energetic. I think in year 2 with Kalen DeBoer, he's going to be more ready and prepared for the SEC. The players are going to be more prepared and ready. He's got more of the type players he wants now. So I think it's all positive for sure as we head into the 2025 season.
100%, 100%. And Jackson, me and you, we've had some conversations offline. We'll kind of dive into our stuff a little bit more on Thursday. But Jackson, just initially, man, just give me your thoughts, man. Looking at it from more so of the analytical fan side of things, man. What are some key things that you think early, just from the interviews, from some of the language that's being spoken, some of the practice footage that you're seeing? What are some of the analytical things do you think you see clearing up very soon, with coming into year 2 with this Alabama Crimson Tide squad?
Well, I think there's going to be a lot of confidence throughout the Crimson Tide for 2025, more so than last year. And I think that the receiving corps is going to be amazing, 10 times better than it was last year. Because last season, we were way too overly reliant on Ryan Williams.
Yeah.
But matter of fact, because we got Bernard helping him out, Horton heard the Tide calling for him from Miami. So he's like, okay, I don't want to relive the 90s anymore. I'm going to go over to Alabama where they relive the nowadays. We don't want to relive the 90s or the 2000s. And you look back at some of these past interviews from the past few months where you saw Ryan Williams and Horton going on Gruden or this here podcast, that their episode where you see them just vibing very well. And I think that's going to show on the field as well. And there's another guy I think everybody needs to look out for. The transfer from Troy, Brody Dalton.
Yeah.
I think, because it's like you got to have a little tight end game. You don't want to get overly reliant on your wide receivers. That's where you get Brody Dalton. And the funny thing is, when he has transferred, it's all been in-state.
Yeah.
So he's going to make his last year in college awesome in Tuscaloosa.
I think he'll find a nice fitting spot in his offense, and not necessarily a heavy load, but somebody that's going to be an equal impact opportunist with as much skill set that's surrounding the quarterback position, especially in the pass game. You'll find a guy like Brody Dalton who has the complete set of tight end skill sets that you want. Great in-line of scrimmage blocker, great out in space blocking, can get you the intermediate and those possession yards after catch is even something that he's averaged higher than 46% of his peers across college football, with the limited amount of targets that he's seen. So if you do target per or catch yardage per catch per and ratio, he was right there in the top 10%, 15% of tight ends in this class that's eligible to go to the draft. So a good pickup, like you said, Jackson. But overall, I look at this thing from more so past the locker room. Look at how the effect of recruiting has been. This 26 class is continuing to shape up to be a top 3 class. And a lot of this is the influence in what you see on roster, the on-campus visits and player interaction. I know personally has been a huge effect on a lot of these 4-star and 5-star kids committing to the University of Alabama. And I know a lot of fans are in this day and era of NIL controls everything, but Alabama's pockets are not thin. But we are picky, and it's for the right reason. And you're going to see why Alabama is very picky. It's going to be reasons like Jalen Mbakwe being able to see that type of investment, knowing that, hey, you don't want to let an asset, your most athletic asset on roster, get away in the portal. And I believe it was a strategic a move made by Mbakwe, but also by the university. And it's benefited in recruiting and overall the locker room camaraderie, the level of motivation that you see behind this team, to not have to worry about the extra business stuff on the backside, knowing that you have a staff that really cares about your value. This squad is pretty locked in, and I can't wait to see to start unveiling a lot of the things that we'll be doing on the Coach Smoot Network and bringing over here the voice of college football, because a lot of things that's being said in the media, things that should be being said in the media aren't being said from these players' mouths. So I can't wait to get into a lot of those topics later on in the season. But guys, let's get into it, man. Let's start giving our overall projections. Let's start breaking down these position groups, and we're going to try to flow through this very smoothly tonight. We had media day. We had LT Overton speak, and I want to bring up LT Overton's interview. We're going to run it for about 3 minutes. and let you all kind of react to it. LT Overton, someone who last year coming out of the portal came in with a lot of high side. Everybody was excited. Got this great defensive lineman from Texas A&M. Came in, made an immediate impact. And just like the rest of the defense, that transition phase of trying to get on the same page with Coach Formick and the new staff on the defensive side, learning different techniques, you saw him just get better and better every week. Ending last season, one of your top defensive linemen slash edge defensive lineman that was draft eligible, chose to come back for another year. I think brings great depth to this defensive line rotation. Let's see what he had to say at today's Alabama Media Day.
Fall camp's been a battle. I've seen a lot of guys. I'm gonna wait till he's done. Fall camp's been a grind. I've seen a lot of guys battling, and not just battling, but growing. I've seen not just the offense and defense getting better, but the special teams. And I feel like every part of every situation of the game is the most important part. And we've been going through fall camp like we're about to enter in a national championship in a few weeks, and that's how it should be. Well, my group of guys, of course, we got me and TK, but we got Jordan Renaud, we got Edric Hill, James. So we've been having some real sleepers over this past year, and I've just been seeing tremendous growth. Keon Kelly especially too, and then the new freshmen coming in like London Hill. These guys just not only have been applying themselves on the field as leaders, but off the field, and that by itself just shows how much growth there is to the D-line. Well, one of our like main goals, and not just this defense, but the whole team, is being consistent. Like, how consistent are we how consistent are we making our days on getting better? We're not trying to slack off or have any lackadaisical days. We're trying to make sure we're consistent, getting better day by day, and stay in that playbook for sure. We want to make sure we're moving fast on that field. I've been seeing like tremendous growth. Like, not just even on I know I'm a defensive lineman, but not just on the O line, the wideouts, the running backs. I've seen calls, shifts, like everybody's coming together as one on the offensive unit. I've been even seeing some crazy stuff that I've never seen. Like, when they talk about NFL pro style type of offense, that's what you're gonna see this year.
Hey, and I'm gonna stop it right there. That's kind of what I wanted to end on. I know we're talking defense. I know we're talking defensive line, but that's something that a lot of defensive players said in their interviews today. I'm kind of being spoiler right now, but we're gonna run it like this, man. Taking it with LT Overton, he just continues to speak on how locked in they are. Jeff, speak. I want you in particular speak on the depth of this defensive line and how you see this defensive line being utilized going into this 2025 season, man.
Absolutely. I love all that he said, by the way, on LT Overton. Definitely confident. Like how he was mentioning consistency, because that is definitely what we need all across the board. Last year, we were way too inconsistent as an entire team. So that's hopefully what we'll be more focused on this year, is being consistent week to week. At least like not having any like D games or F games. You want to at least like at your worst be like a C plus. Or better every single week. But defensive line in particular, I mean, LT Overton, like the fact that it seems like he's stepping up into that leadership role on the defense, because, I mean, he's one of the most experienced guys we have on the entire team. He's a senior, and, him along with Tim Keenan, those two guys are definitely going to be massive defensive players for us this season. I feel like those guys can really showcase to the younger guys that we have on our defensive line how to actually – play defense at a high level in the SEC, because the SEC is so tough. Every team, has great offenses, great defenses these days, pretty much. Like, even the bad teams have talent. So you have to be great week in and week out. Tim Keenan and LT Overton definitely are guys that I think can show some of our younger guys like Jeremiah Beeman and Jordan Renaud, some of those younger players that haven't been able to crack into the starting lineup yet, how to play, because after this year, they're not going to be here. You know, those guys are going to be moving on to the NFL, and it's going to be up to some of these younger guys next season and beyond to step up into those leadership roles. So that's what you want every single, season, is for those older guys to show the younger guys how to play and how to perform at a high level and do things the right way week in and week out on and off the field. And I really like the confidence LT Overton showed. If him and Tim Keenan really step up this season, along with James Smith, he's another guy that a lot of people are high on. I think that those younger guys can learn from them. And overall, our defensive line can be one of our strongest position groups on the team for this season and hopefully in the future as well.
100%, 100%. And schematically, we got Coach Johnny Burks in the house. You can't have Coach in the house and not talk some football, talk some X's and O's, Coach. So a lot of people weren't a fan of the 4-2-5.
3-3-5.
About to have a debate already. Look, we about to have a debate already.
Already.
A lot of people weren't a fan of it last year. And you're absolutely right. Personnel-wise, we do call it 3-3-5. But there are some key things, and we'll have a debate about this later. But, Coach, what do you see about this defensive line rotation? How does this year, going into the year number 2, Coach Kane Womack's style of aggressive play calling, the type of stunts and fits that we want to see, the aggressive nature of it, do you think this team, this personnel that's available right now, the way we went out and padded that defensive line experience, the linebacker group, how athletic has become, the secondary, the type of style of defensive backs, this scheme, how does it fit defensive line-wise?
Very well. And so that's why with me, I mean, that you've heard me say over and over that 3-3-5, I was not a fan of it. Now, there are several teams that use that, but our defensive linemen are here's the difference. To me, our best depth going into the fall is secondary. All right. So you want to enhance the ability of the secondary to make plays. Well, put more pressure on the quarterback. They'll force more quick throws, more mistakes, and hurry ups and stuff like that. And so, to me, I don't know. You can go 4-3-4. I mean, but the 3-3-5, I would throw that out the window unless it's a Hail Mary at the end of the game. But with the defensive front, with the depth we have, with LT and the linebacker and the secondary especially, I mean, we need to get after the friggin' quarterback, and that enhances secondary to be able to make plays. And so it's a good scenario, but like I've said over and over and over, all I care about is how they're going to line up. First down, first play of the game against Florida State. If I would look out there, they're in a 3-3-5. I'm fixing to take the TV. I'm just going to throw it out off my deck out into the pool, and I'm just going to, whatever. What are we thinking? Okay. We just got to. Yeah, well, I mean, you're on where I was so upset last year with the defense at 3-3-5. So we're strong up front. We're good at the linebacker. We're excellent in the secondary. Let's put some guys up there and let's get after that freaking quarterback.
100%. Jackson, round it out, man. D-line, dark horse. We had a lot of play by committee last year. We never had. I think I can ask around the panel right now. If we ask who was the standout defensive lineman from each end position to the interior guys, there was nobody that really just stood out week in and week out.
They weren't given a chance. They were 3-3-5. You got 5 guys blocking 3. So I don't mean to interrupt. Right now, I know, but it sucks.
He want to have his debate so bad right now. Coach, it's not a 3-3-5 when you have a outside linebacker playing a true end technique. I mean, literally the 5 line over the tackle, outside tackle, he's playing in the 9. He's shooting the inside. A lot of stunts, inside stunts, rolls from the 5 to the 3, 5 to the 1. That's the defensive end assignment when you're running 70-80% of your snaps from that stance. I understand you don't like your linebackers dropping back in coverage, but you got to be able to play balance, and that's why you recruit guys like Yanzi Pierre, Quay Rousseau. You get guys like that can really drop back in coverage. You don't put Ja Latham out there and make him a cover guy anymore. You get away from there after week 4 when he proved that he couldn't do it. So I think the 4-2-5 transition, very good from being out of a 3-4 base scheme, 3-4 nickel scheme like Coach Saban used to run. A lot of terminology changes, a lot of the same concepts, but definitely personnel groups were asked to do a lot of different assignments. And I think what you ended with last year being able to run a true defensive end out there at the wolf position, or running your edge rushing outside linebacker, and putting those skill sets to use and being able to see those things and project it. I think we saw a good end point, and I think because of that, like Jeffrey said earlier, the defense is ahead of the offense in my opinion. Just
It
based
is.
on the performance and everything, from late in the spring ball to early fall camp practices, and even in the 7-on-7, the defensive backs and how they're reacting in 7-on-7 on air, just fighting through passes, fighting through catches, fighting through plays. It's telling you that they're understanding things on a higher level. And in that, I think you're going to see a lot of the schematic fit be a lot more fitting this year than it was last year.
Well, hey, I'm just going to tell you, if they don't, if we don't see that, I'm going to be railing. Somebody, I'll be railing every week on defense.
But Jackson, give it to us, man. The dark horse on the D line. Who really pops this year for you? Just looking at the defensive line rotation. I mean, you got your day ones, Tim Keenan, and like we said, LT Overton, but you got some dark horses. I think that people need to keep their names on. We saw
James Smith is a name we definitely need to keep our eye on for 2025.
Yes, Talk about it. Talk about it.
Oh, he's a guy that can really get things rolling. And I'll be honest, I can't wait to see what he brings against Georgia, Tennessee, LSU, and Florida State. Like, you're going to see more of him when we go against those schools.
100%. And like you said, I want to throw it back to Jackson. Not Jackson, Jeff. There's a transfer that we haven't heard a lot about. But if you watched Florida last year, you were kind of like, man, if this guy ever had some help, this guy could really be that guy, and that's Kelby Collins. Talk to me. What do you think that rotation of Collins and Overton and Keeley, that to me is like a key in finding how you roll that roll that personnel grouping out and let those guys kind of get loose against an opposing offense.
For sure. Kelby Collins is a very talented player. According to most depth charts online, it doesn't look like he's going to be starting because you've got LT Overton, Tim Keenan, and James Smith. But to have him as like your fourth guy who, if he really performs well, he could even crack into the starting lineup somehow if he plays at a high level. But even if not, you want to have depth at every position, and having your fourth guy basically be a starter, a starting level player, a probably even close to borderline all SEC type of player. That's what you want to see. That's what you want to have. That's what separates elite programs from good programs and even great programs, is when you have that kind of depth. So I think Kelby Collins is going to be an incredible fourth guy in the defensive line rotation. I mean, after that, things get a little bit, more sketchy on who's going to step up, because most of the guys after that are like sophomores and freshmen, and we haven't really seen him much. As I mentioned earlier, Jeremiah Beeman, he's a guy that people are very high on in the future. Edric Hill, Jordan Renaud, but Kelby Collins, he's a sure thing. He's going to do well. He's going to perform at a high level, and he's definitely going to be in the rotation heavily this season. And like I said, basically be a fourth starter.
So just so that we're clear, everybody, Collins is not playing on the interior. He's the bandit over at your traditional defensive end position. And right now, based off of the practice footage that I've been watching and everything, he's it's him and Overton going with the ones. Tim Keenan will be at the interior. You might see Jeremiah Beeman next to Tim Keenan. You might see James Smith next to Tim Keenan. But Tim Keenan has been the only consistent in that rotation. But right there on the end, I've seen LT Overton. I've seen Kelby Collins. I know Keon Keeley has been basically your 2A guy for the second team of that bandit position. So we're going to see a lot of Kelby Collins. I don't know why people thought he was going to be playing the interior. He's not even big enough. He's only 255, 260, standing 6'4", 6'5". Like I said, that true defensive end fit. So I think just that rotation alone is going to be something that you have to scheme for. You're talking about putting a left tackle or a tight end in one-on-ones, or trying to get them to decipher if they got the overhang or Kelby Collins or Keon Keeley or LT Overton coming off the edge at them. That's a problem. That's a problem to have. So just for that personnel-wise, I think we're in a great position. But like you said, a starter-like personnel coming over to the Crimson Tide, just padding a room that's full of depth with a lot of returning experience. Not a lot of experience, but guys who have time on campus and time in game. Last year, we saw a lot of these names get spot play and really show up towards the end of the season. But now we're going to get to see a lot of these guys blossom. So final take on this defensive line rotation, guys. I think we're probably in the best position we've been in probably about 6 or 7 years at Alabama. When you talk about depth and opportunity with the amount of talent that's been kind of just being held back over the past 2 years, guys like Jeremiah Beaman, Edric Hill, and Jordan Renard, that interior rotation of guys where they can float between all three of those positions, that's going to be key to providing some depth for fresh guys like James Smith and Tim Keenan and LT Overton. So when it's time for those big moments, you got your experience out there and they're fresh. A lot of less penalties we should be able to see from this defensive line. But let's kind of transition to the rest of the roster, you all. We're not going to hit every spot tonight. Like I said, we got a limited time. I kind of want to hit some of the spots that haven't been talked about. We've been high on the defensive backs, but let's talk about the inside linebacker rotation. We're talking about the Will and the Mike linebackers, Deontay Lawson, Justin Jefferson, Nakai Hillis-Green, Abdul Sanders Jr., QB Reese, Caden Jones, Luke Metz, Duke Johnson. This group of linebackers, a lot of talent. When I say those names, you kind of get excited. But when you look at the amount of experience in those rooms, we're really lacking outside of Deontay Lawson and Nakai Hillis-Green. Justin Jefferson played some spots last year, but not enough to really say how consistent he can be in Kane Wommack's defense. So going back to schematics, Coach Johnny, talk to us, man. Do you see these skill sets being able to thrive this year? And what changes do you possibly think need to be made so that position could be more productive than it was last year?
Well, I mean, on how you line them up. I mean, if you go 4-3-4, you can get more of them on the field. I mean, the luxury for Alabama right now is you've got so much talent on defense, secondary, linebacker, defensive front, that kind of stuff. And so now, and of course, obviously, first down, second down, third down, yard, down and distance, that kind of stuff. And so you have as a coach, you've got a plethora of ways in which you can confuse the offense and put them in different positions, different lineups, different personnel, all that kind of stuff. I mean, you got a way in which to create massive confusion for a quarterback. Okay. So the opportunities there are just, it's unlimited. I mean, with so much depth and so much talent. So, but, bottom line, if you're a defense coordinator, how are you going to line them up? And how are you going to choose to play them in situations that benefit the team? Not the player, but the team. Okay? And so, gosh, I wish I were the defense coordinator, because I would have a field day with the talent they've got down there right now with regard to putting people in. And they've got a defense, guys. They have a defensive personnel that can dictate to the offense. Okay, a lot of times in this hurry up and all that kind of stuff, the offense is dictating the defensive personnel. You remember back when Coach Saban was running players off and running players on, and all this other kind of stuff. Alabama's in a situation right now they can dictate to, and that's a great situation. I mean, everybody's, defense always catches up to the offense, and so the hurry up and all that kind of stuff. I mean, the defense is caught up with regard to it. Offense is going to have to get a little more dynamic. But Alabama's in a situation when they put people out on, there in defense, on the field, first down, second down, third down, they can pretty much rotate and move people and dictate what they're going to call. So, 100%. I mean, that's a luxury, Coach. That's a luxury right there. Alabama's in that right now.
Yep. And Jeff, sending me your inside linebacker rotation, knowing Lawson's coming back, that's huge. Mm-hmm. I don't think he's going to be healthy, first 3-4 weeks. I don't think he's going to be 100%. Maybe some spot play in those times. But I think that's the opportune time to really see what type of depth we have without having him on the field. Give me your thoughts on that take in itself, but also, what do you see as far as rotation-wise? I'm going to keep coming to you about personnel rotations, because that's where you're going to have to know. You're going to have to know it, Jeff. I've seen your breakdowns post-game, watching the film, giving numbers of who missed what tackles and who should have been where. I need you to know these inside linebacker rotations. What you got rolling out for us this week one against Florida State, knowing that what we have available with Nakai Hillis-Green coming in, Justin Jefferson returning, the young talent behind those guys, Deontay Lawson not being 100%. Shoot it to us, brother.
It's definitely going to be interesting because, as Coach Johnny said, it's how we decide to line up. Like, how are we doing our defensive rotations? 4-3? Are we doing the 3-3 or the 4-2, as you say, Coach Smook? However you want to call it. It depends on how we really do go out there with our defensive lineups. But, yeah, with Deontay Lawson not being 100% probably for the beginning of the season, that really is going to hurt. But, like you said, it is a good opportunity for a guy like Caden Jones, who is behind him on the depth chart, to possibly be able to showcase his ability, maybe kind of vie for a starting job of his own if he's able to play at a high level. Justin Jefferson, some people think he's going to start at middle linebacker. Like you said, it's either going to be him or Nikhil Green. I think you could really go either way with it because of the fact that I think, like Jefferson, he's, a guy that has shown flashes, and he's a really experienced guy, but he hasn't really been able to completely break through. And then Nikhil Green, he's very talented as well, also very experienced. So probably Nikhil Green will start over Justin Jefferson, but that really could go either way. I would probably say Caden Jones is going to start at Deontay Lawson's spot if Deontay Lawson does not play. To start out, obviously, if he does play, it's going to be Deontay Lawson because he's one of our best defensive players coming into the season. And then other guys like Duke Johnson and, Luke Metz, Abdul Sanders Jr., they're way back in the depth chart, but they could get some spot moments early in the season, especially if we do run it up against Florida State and some of our early opponents as well. But definitely the key rotation at linebackers, Nikhil Green, Justin Jefferson, Caden Jones, and obviously Deontay Lawson if healthy.
But, I mean, are we talking about, middle linebacker and just that's the only position? Are we talking about moving them around? Because, I mean, Jefferson, he's a guy, you can move that guy around.
You could honestly start Jefferson and Nikhil Green, depending on how you do it, but I don't know how they're going to do their defensive rotation.
Okay, because I don't think they need to be
just early looks at fall practice. I see Nikhil Green and Justin Jefferson, 1 and 2 out there. Deontay Lawson plays in or steps up in a lot of their warm-up drills, but we're seeing Nikhil Green and Justin Jefferson, and right behind them, a name that a lot of people for some reason have been quiet on. I've been very high on this young man, QB Reese. Last year made a huge impact and got thrown into the rotation in the Michigan game and played quality snaps in the Michigan game. But then right there, Abdul Sanders Jr., true freshman from Mater Dei, he steps in and really was playing with the ones in week 2 of spring practice, literally playing with the starters, second scrimmage, came out there and played 22 snaps with the first team. Been playing a lot of solid second team reps, on that first group with special teams. That's what you see with a lot of your defensive coordinators who are kind of inside linebacker coaches, like Kane Womack, who specializes in coaching linebackers. They throw those guys in a lot of leadership roles on other teams, such as special teams, such as dime package. And Abdul Sanders Jr. is probably one of the most athletic inside linebackers we have, and his young talent, he's on that trajectory, I believe, like we saw from Mack Wilson. In a spot where he's not going to be counted on to play impact minutes, but his IQ and his production, his ability to run fit, but also get out in coverage and really cover linebackers and tight ends out of the backfield, that's what separates him right now and a lot of that other young talent. And like you all said, Caden Jones is a name that kind of just got behind the ball with injuries, but I don't believe he's going to be as much of an impact player as we would like, but definitely a strong veteran presence that's going to be able to provide those 1 to 2 snaps when you need those young guys coming off to get a good look at something, But otherwise than that, man, I love our inside linebacker rotation, man. And like you said, how do you utilize them? We have different rush packages, blitz packages that I believe you're going to have to put Jefferson on the edge. That type of speed coming off the edge, his tackling ability, open field tackling ability, his coverage ability. You can put him and Quay Russo on the field at the same time on the edges, and you slide guys like Keely and LT Overton kind of to more your interior fits. Man, you're talking about a crazy elite pass rush.
Yeah.
Jackson, who you said your dark horse was, Jackson?
I said James Smith.
I mean, for the inside linebackers.
Well, for inside linebackers, I'm just kind of tuning in, and I'm thinking Jefferson's going to be a good one because I'm excited to see what he's bringing. I mean, he's going to bring that magic.
I like him too.
What is it about him, Coach Burks, that you like about Jefferson? Because a lot of people weren't very high on him last year, and I don't think he had enough opportunities.
I thought I like his movement. I like his attack on the ball. And but there again, I'm back to where are you going to line them up and stuff like that. And some of these guys you got to move around. When I was coaching way back, I mean, sometimes you have a strong safety, you have corners and stuff like that. My secondary and people on defense, I moved them around. I didn't want this. I might have a corner over on the strong side, one whatever, and then on the weak side the next. I didn't, and so where the offense could never just okay, well this player's on this, and we're going to run this play, and so especially that was in the secondary. But then when you get up front and just putting somebody at a 3 technique, and that's where they only play and stuff like that, I always like moving them around, giving them different opportunities. And Jefferson's one of those athletes that you can move him around. I mean, he does not have to just sit there at the middle linebacker. He can be outside. He can be on the, defensive end. It's just, and that kind of stuff kind of confuses the defense. But I get tired of just, play. He's going to play here, and that's the only spot he's going to play. I like to confuse, the defense a little bit.
I think you're going to see more of that this season.
I hope so.
Because of the transition last year and the timing of it, you didn't have the full 24 to 28 weeks of transitional, where guys were able to get the language there. You got to remember, Jefferson was coming out of a system that he was just getting the hang of, getting the play calls from Kevin Steele. And they used a lot of, NFL terminology, and Kane Womack's ideal to get his system transition was to simplify everything. So we saw a very vague, a very simplified version of Kane Womack's style of play calling early on in the season. That's why I believe we turned the corner. Once you saw kind of Jaheim Otis exit and some of the guys that were playing, getting a lot of those snaps in front of the younger guys, once you saw those guys get kind of moved down the depth chart, and you got those young guys that really were being bought in and taught this system, this was their first system being taught, that's when I saw production go up around week 5, week 6 of last season. Even against Oklahoma, that game was more so on the offense. The defense gave the offense, 4 extra possessions. We actually ended up with 3 more possessions, offensive possessions, than Oklahoma, only to come away with 3 points. So you can't blame the defense for that. I love the production of the defense. I love the inside linebacker depth right now. I think right now, if I had to guess the depth chart right now, I would say walking out Florida State, we will see Nakai Hill-Green, the transfer from Colorado, start. We will see Justin Jefferson line up next to him. And I think you'll see a heavy dose of the rotation with QB Reese, Deontay Lawson playing a lot of key spot plays, getting guys lined up early in the first half. But I don't think we'll see a lot of Deontay Lawson early on in this season, only because of how these other guys have picked up in this system. QB Reese is going into year 2 of this being the first defensive scheme he's learned at the collegiate level. I think we're going to see more of him than what people expect.
Yeah.
There we go.
Go ahead.
And we got some super chats from Caden the Diesel Freak. The second one, we appreciate the super chat contributions. He says, Alabama's defense has a few flaws, and I've noticed some things.
Oh, speak up. I would love to hear that, because statistically, Alabama was the number 3 ranked defense in college football for the last 6 weeks of the regular season. And that's just overall statistics. That's even giving up 21 or what it was, 20-3. What was the score to Oklahoma? 20-3.
28-3. 23. Yeah, 23-3.
Points per possession. It took them, 11 possessions to get those
24-3.
points.
My mistake.
11 possessions. We were giving up, for every 11 possessions, we were giving up 3 points. That's crazy good when you talk about teams averaging anywhere from 9 to 18 possessions a game across college football last year. So I think just the continuity, the language being more fluent this season, guys like Jefferson being able to fly around, use their athleticism without thinking as much, because it's a part of them. That's when you're going to see the real growth from.
And add in the versatility. You've got players that can play a lot of different positions and things. You can move them around, that type of scenario. So, and you got a lot of depth. So, not worried about injuries or stuff like that, because there's people that can step in and fulfill the role.
100%. And then you can grab that first one from Caden, the Diesel Freak, man.
Caden Diesel Freak for the $5 super chat says, "Roll Buckeyes, roll, crush the Crimson Tide." Yeah, for those who are tuning into Crimson Tide Live, Caden the Diesel Freak comes on in and tries to put Alabama in their place, I guess. But I can't wait to see that Alabama-Ohio State game. That's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's happening before 2027.
Oh yeah, it's got to. It's got to. That's the moneymaker right there. But guys, let's go ahead and roll over to the offensive side. We've talked defensive line and the linebackers, inside linebacker, kind of focusing on the trenches and kind of like the interior of the defense. Let's do the same for the offense. I want to talk offensive line. They don't get enough love. I see a lot of people. They get a lot of hate during the season, missed assignments, false starts, and all of this. You know, when the offense is struggling, now the offensive line has attention. Let's talk about some of the skill sets that we bring back, being that this is this is an offensive line that's by a lot of analysts and different, you know, ranking systems and PFF scores. They're ranking this interior Alabama interior offensive line is the most talented and the best in the country, giving this whole group the number one ranking in a lot of preseason polls. Jeff, we're going to start with you, man. Kind of talk about the rotation, the first group that you see being the most fit group to really lead this style of offense, being that Ryan Grubb is now taking the helm as the offensive play caller this season.
Definitely, our offensive line has been a weakness the past few years. Since the 2020 season where we won the national championship with Matt Jones, Devontae Smith, our offensive line that year was probably the best in college football. And since that season, it has taken a step back. We have not had as good of offensive line play the last 4 seasons. So this year, I'm seeing a lot of people be more high on our offensive line. So part of it starts with a lot of guys returning. Caden Proctor is back. After the whole Iowa fiasco in the past, that's behind him. He's a guy that has so much talent, but he's a little bit inconsistent. That is a big issue, but I do believe that he's a guy that will, as he continues to play college football, I think he's a junior this year. It's his 3rd season in college football. He's going to get better. He's too talented to not continue to improve, especially with this coaching staff. A transfer that a lot of people are high on is Cam Dewberry. A lot of people believe he's going to start the left guard spot. I think he's a really solid player, has a lot of experience. And then Parker Brailsford at center, Jaden Roberts at right guard, Wilkin Formby at right tackle is kind of what a lot of people are thinking is going to be the first 5. They're some of the most experienced players. Most of those guys returning except the one transferring, Cam Dewberry. So you have a solid core of really, really good offensive linemen that are actually being ranked pretty highly according to a lot of major services and outlets. And even around here, I'm definitely high on a lot of those guys. I think our offensive line is going to be a lot better. Lloyd Jackson, he's only a true freshman, but he's already pushing hard. He's pushing hard behind Caden Proctor, left tackle. If Proctor does move on to the NFL after this season, not sure if he will or not, but if he does, then Jackson Lloyd is definitely a guy that I believe could actually be a starter next year as a sophomore. I mean, he's that good. I believe highly in him. And then after that, we have so many young redshirt freshmen, redshirt sophomores. I mean, you can go all the way down the list. Casey Poe, William Sanders. It goes on and on. We have so much depth at offensive line. These guys are going to get their time in the future. But that first 5, I believe, is going to be our starting offensive lineman in week 1.
100%. And I had somebody a report come in the other day. One of the guys that's watching practice that got to see the viewing period, and they were talking about how Gino Vandermark was with that first group in the first stances, and I like that because I think he brings a lot of that experience factor, that know-how of the way that Coach Cap wants it. But when you have a talent like Cam Dewberry right there at the left guard position, those guys having that type of quality of offensive lineman, especially interior, being able to have that type of rotation there, I think is huge. Coach, schematically, some things we talked about earlier, getting the run game established. The personnel grouping that Jackson named and listed, I do believe that's probably your best group of 5 to throw out there and give us the best opportunity to really implement the running game. What do you see being the most effective part of this run game, whether it's the outside zone, the continuing to rely on the RPO? What style of run game do you think Brian Grubb gets back to going into this season?
I mean, I hope it's a lot of the off tackle stuff and just line it up and just smash mouth, running straight at somebody 3 yards in a cloud of dust back in the old days, which is something we couldn't do. But let me what was the weakest link last year for you 3? What do you think was the weakest link last year with Alabama's offensive line?
I would say the left tackle position. As much as we like to give Caden Proctor his love, He only showed up against the better teams, which was weird to me. But a lot of mishaps and misreads from that left side of the offensive line, and you just go back and look at the film. A lot of overreaching, a lot of overextending, and I think that's something that personally he can work on. But the right tackle struggle. But I think once we found that balance in that rotation, we saw Formby and Pritchett get thrown into positions where they played their strongest and their best after week 5. So I think the tackle position overall needs to see the most improvement, on my personal opinion.
Exactly. I'm glad you said that. And that, well, last year play calling, it comes down to play calling and all that kind of stuff. But we were pretty weak over there on the left side, and I mean, everybody's giving Jalen Milroe down the road, but I mean, he was not helped with that offensive line whatsoever, especially throwing the ball. But for me, I mean, I like to see a lot of inside traps. I like to see, the counter tray, pull the tackle, kick out, that kind of stuff. You look at you go back, guys, you go back and look at that Oklahoma film and how they blocked Alabama's defense. I mean, you're looking at a lot of counter trade, a lot of trap pulling and stuff like that. I wish, a lot of times you get into the, just straight ahead, that kind of stuff, which is good. I want to be able, you got to be able to do that. That's first. But then I like to see a lot of trapping and pulling and that kind of stuff, block down, pull back, and those type of scenarios. And if Alabama can do that with the offensive line, that's going to be great for Miller and setting up the passing game. But last year, you look Alabama first down, they're going to throw the football. Throw the football. Me, I want to see Alabama get back to first down. Mark Ingram, Derrick Henry, run the football. And Jam Miller is a perfect guy to give him that opportunity. Let that guy run.
Big reason we lost Justice Haynes, I think, to the transfer portal.
Yeah. So, I mean, I like to, just get up and, set the game at the front with the offensive line, blocking, running the ball, and then go from there. If you can run the ball, you're going to win. Bottom line. If you're 100%. Just depending on throwing it 50 times a game, back in the old days or back, 2 or 3, 4 years ago when we were, everybody's hurry up, throwing it 50 times a game. Yeah. That worked. Got everybody tired, but defense has caught up. And so right now we're back to offenses have got to get back to running the ball.
I think what people fail to realize is that at Washington, Washington under Ryan Grubb and Kalen DeBoer that national championship run year, they were able to run the ball. They ran the ball 30 plus times a game. They threw the ball averaged 37 times a game, and they ran the ball 31 times a game. But what they did not see was a lot of quarterback run action, and a lot of that last year, a lot of our run game suffered because of Jalen Milroe having to learn his third offensive system in 4 years of being a college football player. Just misreads early in the season, everything's there. You don't know what to expect from Alabama, but now week 5, week 6, you see defensive coordinators being able to make adjustments and forcing those reads to exactly what it wasn't that he was making the wrong reads. He was making the read that he was getting thrown, and if it's showing keep and he keeps and they're sending the extra help defender to reinforce it, that's great on the defensive play call. There's nothing on Jalen Milroe or the offense. But to the Justin Haynes comment, there was games early on in the season where he just would not take the hole. It's like he was waiting for something to develop and being too patient, not pressing the pocket, not pressing the gaps, and not forcing things to develop. So it's kind of like I get real touchy about the play calling thing. I think Nick Sheridan, for what we had last year, did a great job. You couldn't get that. You wasn't going to get that from Tommy Rees. You wasn't going to get that from Bill O'Brien with Jalen Milroe and this type of offense that Kalen DeBoer wanted to run, which was the vertical pass scheme. That's what this offense is centered around. And layering the vertical pass concepts off of the run game. Dylan Johnson in 2023 ran this offense as far as a running back. Inside zone run game, the outside zone run game, the toss sweeps, everything that you said, coming off the misdirection, he benefited from it. And like you said, we have the skill sets available. I think with quarterbacks that aren't going to focus on utilizing their legs as much, we'll get to see this run game develop a lot better this year. I really do. And
here's another little thing. How many, guys, how many games do you think, teams playing against Alabama, how many games do you think the the defense started out in a 3-3-5. Not very many. With Jalen Milroe back there at 3-3-5, they didn't line up in a 3-3-5. No, they were up in a four-man or five-man front.
You might want to go watch. You might want to go watch that what game that was. You seen Georgia come out in the second half. They came out of a true four front. That's what made their defense start to capitalize in that last game. They literally walked the overhang and they started playing basically a base 3-3-5. They were running 6 DBs out on the field to make up and compensate for the speed that we were being able to outflank them. So I don't know, Coach. Maybe we're gonna have to watch some film together because you keep talking about this 3-3-5 and I don't see it. Look, my boy Big Homie, he doing the same thing. I don't know, Coach. I'm even personnel wise, we ran a lot of true defensive linemen last year. Kane Womack ended up putting a lot of in, coming over to the Wolf side, and you seeing their athleticism being displayed off the edge.
What I'm asking you, Coach, against Jalen Milroe, would you line up in a 3-3-5?
Depends on what my personnel is. You got a lot of speed, at the linebacker position. Yeah, I'm putting 3 linebackers out there and giving myself the opportunity to play in space more so than trying to stop the interior run game. When you got run fitters coming from the secondary with the likes of Malachi Moore, Devontae Smith, Justin Jefferson, guys that can cover in space and tackle well. I'm cool with having the personnel grouping of 3 true defensive linemen, 3 linebackers, and 5 defensive backs out there on the field. As far as alignment, though, I think coming down and making that outside linebacker like Alabama does, making that outside linebacker a true defensive end, forcing him to be that in itself, a defensive end / outside linebacker. That's why you go and recruit the 5 stars and the 4 stars like Quay Rusar, Yanzi Pierre, Noah Carter. You go and get guys like Justin Hill so that, hey, they can drop in coverage. They can basically play wide receiver at the defensive end position, but when it's time to get to the run and get in the run blocking and stopping the run game, they're just as much of a physical opposition for the offensive line than rather than keeping a big slow defensive end out there. So I get it.
Don't you worry, Cade. We will definitely.
We got you, Cade.
Don't you worry, good buddy.
But Jackson, you got to give us a dark horse for this offensive line. Who really steps up this year on this offensive line for you? And then we're going to go to one last topic, and that's what Coach was kind of diving into the running backs. You got Cam Dewberry?
Yeah, I mean, I think people should definitely look out for Cam Dewberry because he's going to be playing for a winner now. He's not going to be playing for a what would have been team.
Okay, I can get it. I get it. New face on the scene, coming around with a group that was pretty solid ending last season. I could see him getting the dark horse label. I can see that.
He doesn't have to be at a team that's national title drought is a year older than Bugs Bunny. So
chill out, man. You gotta get these A&M fans mad, man. Don't get them buzzing over there, man. Now listen,
they don't like it. They don't like it. They have to start winning, I guess.
Gig 'em.
Truth kind of hurts,
Gotta gig them, baby. All right, let's round this out with this, y'all. This running back rotation. I think this is the room that, like I believe, I think a lot of us believe it's going to be hard to keep some of these guys around. Jam Miller, coming back. That really made this room kind of confusing to me. I think Jam Miller had a solid campaign, maybe to be a solid second, third round pick in this year's draft. He's a guy I believe just needs to get on roster at the next level. Doesn't need to be a first round pick to have a long career at the next level. Coming into this season, you look at the depth chart there: Jam Miller, Richard Young, Daniel Hill, Dre Washington, Kevin Riley, A.K. Deere to round out that running back rotation. What do you all see from this group, starting with Coach Jeff? You talked about the interior run game being a thing that we need to focus on and allow this offensive line to build up. But what from the running backs can we see differently this year going into year 2 under Kalen DeBoer's scheme, but having Ryan Grubb as a play caller? What do you see coming from this offensive run game?
What I want to see from the run game is just more running the ball. I want to see running backs getting more involved. Like I said, I know NIL is a major factor. I get that Michigan's doing great in that department, but Justice Haynes left Alabama because he was not getting utilized that much. Him and Jam Miller were underutilized heavily last year. And I'm not saying that if we had to run the ball with them a lot more, we would have been significantly better last year because, yes, their offensive line was kind of weak. But still, at the same time, if we had to mix it up more, at least try our best to keep defenses honest instead of it just being Milroe running the ball and then throwing all day. I think we could have been better, but that's in the past. This year, though, we've got Jam Miller as our bell cow back. He's going to get the significant amount of carries. Like you said, Coach, a guy that definitely could have left for the draft last year despite being underutilized, because he still was very good in the attempts that he was given last season. But with him being back, it is massive for us because he's one of the better, if not top 3 running backs in the SEC for this season. I know you can debate that all day long, but he's going to be one of the best running backs in the SEC. Then behind him, Richard Young, Daniel Hill. Those 2 guys are definitely vying for running back number 2. I would say Richard Young probably has the edge for being the backup running back, but those 2 guys, if they're getting involved a lot, then that probably means that our offensive line is doing a lot better. It probably means that our play calling is doing a lot better if they're getting a lot of snaps, because those guys have talent. It's never been a talent problem for us at running back, because you go throughout the lineage, as Coach Johnny said earlier, Mark Ingram, Derrick Henry, Najee Harris, Brian Robinson. You can just go on and on. We've had so many great running backs the last 15, 20 years under Nick Saban, and we still have great running backs. They just need to be utilized. And our offensive line needs to be better this year, which I think it will be. And with Ty Simpson not being a running quarterback to the degree at all of a Jalen Milroe, he's not going to be running that much. We need to use our running backs. We have talented running backs. Jam Miller probably gets 60, 65% of the carries, you would think, and then the other 35 can be bevied up to the other guys. But definitely I want to see more Richard Young, and I want to see more Daniel Hill, because I know those guys are ready to play. But if they're getting a lot of snaps, that probably means that our offensive line and running game are doing a much better this season and getting a lot more snaps.
100%. And you said something that was key. Kalen DeBoer, Ryan Grubb never had a quarterback have more than 100 rushing attempts in a season up until Jalen Milroe. So that's 7 seasons of play calling together. A lot of quarterbacks live with handing the ball off. Jalen Milroe didn't understand that last season, and we saw that affect our offense, to a certain degree because of his athleticism. Some of those selfish calls, they turned out to be big plays. Just his natural athleticism. You kind of lived and you died with some of the decision making. But I think this year you're talking about 488 rushing attempts. Dialed up rushing attempts with his offensive play calling compared to 226 passes attempted, right? You got to think out of those 600, 700 play calls or snaps called, plays called, maybe another 25-30% of those were actually meant for passes or actual handoffs. So I like the numbers being a little bit more spread out. I like Jam Miller to be right where he was last year, right at 140, 150 carries for the season. But then those 168 that we saw from Jalen Milroe, I think 100 of those get cut from the quarterback. And you see guys like the third running back who had 79. The third guy with the most carries had 79 is Justin Haynes. He has 25 more to put him at that 100 mark. Then you see the fourth guy, Richard Young, who would be the second guy this year. You see him with at least 20, 25 more. And I think the numbers really level out to show you how balanced this offense really is. I know people try to think that the vertical passing concept, because that's the name of it, we want to attack the verticals. They think it's just passing, but this offense really runs the ball. Ryan Grubb knows how to run the ball, and we're going to see it this year. Coach, talk to me personnel-wise, schematically. If you think back to Washington 2023 and Dylan Johnson and how he ran the ball against Texas in that playoff game, do you see a skill set like Dylan Johnson from that Washington team on this roster? And if so, who, if there's more than one, who benefits from being able to run the ball in this offensive scheme, Coach?
Well, I'm just going to tell you point blank with me is I've got to see Jam Miller touch the ball 20 times a game. I want to see him. I want to see him featured, run the ball. I mean, we're supposed to have, this offensive line that's all this blah, 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 and all this other kind of crap. Well, run the ball, win the game, run the ball, control the clock. There were times in Alabama's game, if they could have ran the ball, there we go. But bottom line to me is I have so much confidence in Jam Miller that I think that guy is a Mark Ingram Trent Richardson, and I know y'all are sitting there rolling your eyes and stuff like that. No, I've watched this guy. He is the most underappreciated, underutilized. I mean, I'm gonna run that guy 20 times a game. If this offensive line is supposed to be all this and all that kind of stuff, and I think they are, okay, I'm gonna run the ball. I'm not gonna just, and you know what? That opens up the offense. Mm-hmm. All right, instead of just trying to pass the ball and put everything, it makes it so much easier. Number one, you got Jam Miller, great running back, and you got Richard Young behind him, another good one. Every time I saw Mr. Young touch the ball, everything was positive. And so you take the pressure off, okay, Ty Simpson, and then now the defense, everybody's got to focus more on, they may, this guy may pop out of there for 15, 20 yards, that kind of stuff, and get back to the old school, type of approach to, offense. So I know you may disagree with me, but I really feel like I'm going to run the offense through Jam Miller.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, I don't disagree.
I know everybody else is saying, throw it to Ryan. No, I ain't saying that. No, I think you can create better opportunities for Ryan, okay, by focusing, getting back to the old school. Run it through Jam Miller. That's what I'm going to do. If I'm calling the plays, I'm going to run that offense through Jam Miller.
I'm going to tell you who I'm running that ball through. I'm running it. A lot of people are high on Jam Miller. I think Jam Miller gets the year where he kind of gets to take the back seat. He gets to be Robin in his running back room. I think Richard Young really blossoms this year, and I think Richard Young ends up being the bell cow. He's literally 2 years behind. One was due to injury, and 1 year was just due to the transition. I think he came in at the perfect opportune time. He is more of the style Dylan Johnson was that we saw thrive in that Washington style in this style of offense when they were able to run the ball. Jam Miller, with his receiving assets, I think that's where you're going to be able to see him featured this year. A lot of these pass sets or a lot of these second and third down where it's second or in between where you can really confuse the linebacker based off alignment, motioning Jam Miller out into the slot. That's going to be a lot of things. But running the ball, I think Richard Young's rest, I've seen it over the past spring. Even the spring from the first year when Caleb Wardstaff took over. Richard Young was really the lead guy. If he hadn't got hurt going into the West Kentucky game, I think he ends up being the lead guy for last year's season. So my guy for this year is not Jam Miller. I think there's a 1A, 1B situation going on. Depends on who's doing good Thursday in walkthroughs. That's who's going to get the first carry.
But let me ask you, are you agreeing with me running the offense through either one of those guys?
100%. I believe
that's where I'm going.
The key is to get to the run game. Get to the run game. Get that run game established. This is still the SEC. This is still a physical brand of football. And I think, honestly, we're not giving Ryan Grove enough credit for understanding that. If you look at why they dominated the pack with Washington in 2023 and 2024, their 10-2 season in 2023 and 22, and then 23 they had the 14-1 season. That team dominated in the interior run game. There was a lot of plays where that first year you saw that offense really break big runs in the interior run game. So I think we're going to get back to what we feel Alabama offense should be in a different look. This is more so of the Jake Coker era of Alabama offense on a more explosive, a more explosive plateau. Instead of it happening 40 times a game, 40 plays a game, you're going to see this 65, 70 plus snaps a game with this offensive style.
The games where we didn't run the ball, where we had 125 rushing yards or less, were the games that we lost, like Georgia, Vanderbilt, Oklahoma.
You should lose at that.
Yeah, we almost lost to South Carolina last year, but the games where we ran way more than 125 rushing yards against Missouri, LSU, and Georgia, where we were bringing that magic on those games. And I think that's going to be key right there. Make sure you've got 125 rushing yards or more. And I can't wait to see what our rushing game is going to bring out in 2025. It's going to be amazing.
I can tell you what, if you've got over 200, you're going to win.
Well, it's like you mentioned before, Coach. I remember watching late in games last year, so many games that we could have just ran the clock out with our running backs, and we didn't do that.
Yeah.
And in years past under Nick Saban, that's what we would do. If we were in a 9-6 game, if we were in a 14-10 type of game, and we had the ball with 2-3 minutes left, we just ran the clock out on them every single time. Because we could just hand the ball off and we would get the first down. It was going to happen. Make sure that they see if they could stop us. And if they couldn't stop us, just running down at their throat. And that's what we did not do last year. So we had so many 3-and-outs late in games where if we could have just been able to run the ball, run the clock out, we would have been able to win easier, or we would have won instead of losing. But instead, we were throwing the ball. Milroe was still trying to do things with the lead, and it just didn't work out. And that's frustrating. That's not Alabama football. That's not what we were known for.
And the last thing I'll say is that ask yourself, how many championship teams did Nick Saban have without a hammer in the backfield?
Mac Jones.
Hey.
Mac Jones 2020 was the last. I mean, was the first and the last one.
Go.
You got to think, because even that year,
have a hammer.
Najee Harris was more impactful in the pass game than he was in the run game. In 2020, I think people fail to realize that. Like, he had a lot of highlight runs, but we still passed the ball 63% of the time. It was not a run heavy style offense. That era of Saban running the ball, that style of running is no longer. You have extensions of the run game now with the quick screens, the jet sweeps down that are accounting for the run game because of how defenses are able to play close to the line of scrimmage with smaller personnel. That's why we keep talking about this 3-3-5 and debating how effective it is. You try to run out there in your traditional 4 defensive linemen out there on the field, you're going to be a guy slow, 60-70% of the game. You're going to be a guy slow. You might have the size up front to shut that down, but you're going to be a guy slow, meaning you're going to have a defensive end or a true defensive lineman out there or a true linebacker out there that's set to run fit or play, swing routes out of the backfield. But what happens when he gets caught in those wheel concepts, kind of like what we saw from Braswell the last year of Coach Saban and Coach Steele, the two of the greatest defensive minds in college football for the past 20-plus years, out there getting out schemed by Josh Heupel in Tennessee because of formation shifts and noticing a real defensive end out there instead of an athletic outside linebacker. So this is where I think Kane Womack has an edge with his defensive play calling style. And then even also last year with Nick Sheridan offensively, there was a lot of times where if you got overhangs walking down 6 yards, close to the line of scrimmage from the Husky position, yes, I want my quarterback to test that, eat that time and spacing up, and throw the ball. When your wide receivers catch it, it works good. When your offensive line is blocking, it works good. But when you have those two things inconsistent and your quarterback is not confident in making a read because those two things are inconsistent, yeah, you're going to see some inconsistency. So I think this year the continuity is going to be a huge factor in the offensive execution with the offensive line, quarterbacks. I think if a lot of teams play us defensively like they did last year, we're going to see more passing than we're going to see running because of the effectiveness and the understanding at the quarterback position. Ty Simpson, IQ-wise, is definitely going to be a lot more prepared than Jalen Milroe was last year, knowing the assignments, knowing the calls, knowing what the offensive coordinator is looking for. So I think we're set up good on both sides of the ball. Talking about these few position groups that we talked about tonight, I think we're set up for possibly a dominant first 6 or 7 games before we start to see a true test against this Alabama Crimson Tide team as a whole.
I do have one more point to make about the running back. So when you
said,
Spook, about Najee Harris, being more of in the passing attack, that is a fair point. I feel like what Coach Johnny was mentioning and referencing, though, was the fact that we had a running back feature. Now, to your point, back in those earlier Saban titles, the Mark Ingers, Derrick Henrys, it was exclusively run with those guys. They were just running down the throat. Najee Harris was the beginning of hybrid running back, where basically that quick pass is an extension of the run. If you look at that as an extension of the run game, then yes, Alabama in that 2020 season still had a feature back in Najee Harris. It just wasn't as much running down the throat. It was more passing out of the backfield, short throws, stuff like that. But last year was the first year and just basically forever where Alabama did not feature running backs at all. And that is essentially what needs to return. Whether it's running the ball down the throat or getting our running backs involved in the passing game, however we do it, we just got to get them more involved than they've been in the past, because that will definitely help us get closer to getting back to a championship level. But I agree with you on that point, though. Like, Najee wasn't just running down the throat, but he was catching out of the backfield, but he was still featured, and that's what we did not have last year. It was a featured back. We did not feature any of them at all.
So I pose this question to the chat as we get ready to close out. This year, and we're talking specifically running backs, would you be upset if we didn't have a feature back? Because I think with the skill sets available, you look at Jam Miller, Richard Young, Daniel Hill, I think those are our top three. Dre Washington, I believe, is a situational back, more so of your goal line featured power run back. Maybe get you the tough yards in those goal line situations. But is this a running back by committee type of year where the running back room is so effective that you don't need a guy with 30 plus carries? You don't need a guy with 20 plus carries, 15, 15, 10, to get you right there in that 30 plus, that 30 handoff mark because of the effectiveness. Do you think we there, or do we force a 1-2 back type system where we have maybe a third guy like Daniel Hill relieving these guys, A.K. Deere and Kevin Riley being kind of your mop up duty guys, Dre Washington just staying fresh? What do you all in the chat believe this is going to be? Run the comments up whether you're watching live or post live. But from the staff, real quick, let's round circle 30 seconds. Jackson, running back by committee or feature back? And if it's a feature back, who's your feature back?
I think we're just gonna run by committee, because I want to see it be kind of like 09, where it was like Mark Ingram and Trent Richardson just running the show. Like, I want to see it be like that, where we've got all kinds of running backs for 2025.
Okay. Coach Burks, what you thinking?
I'm feature back. I mean, you got to have a rhythm. I mean, a feature back is going to have a rhythm with the offensive line and the blocking and stuff like that. I mean, if you're by committee, I mean, there's no rhythm with regard to that. And, the offensive line, I mean, when you're back there constantly, you can read their butts. You can see when they're turning their leg. You learn everything about, position with, the footwork and so, no, you got to have a feature back and develop rhythm with the offensive line, changing everybody, blah, 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 blah. No, I don't agree with it. But hey, I'm old school. Jeff?
What about you, Jeff? What you got?
I would prefer like Coach Johnny to have a feature back. I would prefer to have it be Jam Miller 65% of the time, and then the other guys play less. I think it's going to be Jam Miller is like a half feature back. I think he's going to be the number one. I think he's going to get the most snaps, but I feel like it's going to be slightly by committee too. Richard Young, Daniel Hill are going to get involved, specifically Richard Young being that secondary back. But I think Jam Miller is going to be getting the most carries. He's going to be the guy that gets talked about the most, across the media. Like, people are going to be discussing Jam Miller, like, hey, he's going to be that number one back. But I think Richard Young is going to be right behind. So I'm kind of in between you two. I think it's going to be slightly by committee, but I still feel like Jam Miller is going to be kind of still that number one guy.
I think we'll have a feature back. I think Richard Young will be our feature back. I think he'll be the one with the 60% of carries, and then you'll see Jam Miller with that 30%. Right there, that 30% of carries, and then you see a guy like Daniel Hill with 10%, getting those onesies and twosies where when it's his play call, when he's out there, it's either his call or it's specific assignment, and you'll see the wear and tear where guys like Damian Harris, my guy, just literally bringing up the trio I was talking about, Damian Harris, Josh Jacobs, Najee Harris. That year that they were there, we can't say that Josh Jacobs or Damian Harris was the feature back, because when Najee Harris got those third back rotations, he was just as effective. And I think when you look at the average yards per carry, even last year in the run game, Jalen Miro with the most carries did not have the highest average. You had two backs in Jam Miller and Richard Young, both averaging more than 4.3 yards per carry. And if you listen to Coach Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb and what they want in their offense, they want backs, their offensive average yards per carry, they want to be right there at the 4.5, 4.7 yard mark. Every back in the offensive in the running back room last year that took carries and meaningful game time had that average or more. So I think with the quarterback taking less of the carries or not taking so many carries out of the running back's hands, I think we're going to see that effectiveness. And 10% of carries for Daniel Hill looks good at 40 carries for the season, being the third guy with 40 carries. Or, the second guy at 30% of carries. And Jam Miller, I believe, going to be more effective because of play calling. He's going to be in more of your pass sets. He's going to be your primary guy because of that, being able to be utilized equally in the pass and the run game. So I think that's where you see a level out for his numbers. But as far as ball carrier, I think Richard Young is going to be our bell horse, our bell cattle, and he's going to be the one that really sets the tone. But I do agree with you, Jeff. I think Jam Miller, because of his versatility, is going to be the guy that's talked about. Jackson, close us out, man. You talked about your running back by committee. Who is your guy that really just pops on this roster offensively? That really just from either the offensive line or the running back room. Who is our guy to look for, Jackson? You had a close one last year when you talked about Caden Proctor coming back from the transfer portal. Who is the guy to look for early preseason? The guy to look for on the offensive side, Jackson.
Oh man, I'm looking forward to seeing Horton on because like Horton heard the Tide calling for him, and he's gonna hear the Tide calling for him a lot this year.
100%, 100%. Isaiah Horton, everybody, y'all heard it here first. I got Jackson Johnson giving y'all the name to look for in Alabama Crimson Tide's 2025 fall season. But with that being said, guys, we're going to go around the table, and I want you all to let everybody know where they can follow you and continue to support the content and the works that you're putting out behind this Alabama Crimson Tide football. A lot of quality takes tonight. If you enjoyed the show tonight, make sure you're running the likes up. Make sure you're sharing the content. But Coach Johnny, we're going to start with you, Coach Burks. Let them know where to follow you and how we can keep following you, man.
It's at JohnnyBurks.5 or at Facebook. Look up John Henry Burks, Coach Burks. You'll see me on there. I'll be, doing a few little things there, and just here and there and everywhere. I'm old school. I don't do a lot of
I feel you, Coach. Y'all make sure y'all go show Coach Johnny some love, man. Go show Coach Burke some love. Jeffrey, tell the people where to come and get you at, man.
Definitely, you can follow me on my YouTube channel, Only Talk Sports. I've been pumping out more content over there as we get closer to the college football season, doing tons of live streams with various different people, videos, shorts. So definitely, if you would like to check it out, I would definitely appreciate a subscribe over at Only Talk Sports. Also, you can follow me on X as well, at Only Talk Sports. I try to stay off there as much as I possibly can because it gets crazy on X, but I do post at least usually a few times a week, several times a week on various stuff going on in the sports world. So definitely appreciate a follow over there. Also, you can find me on Mondays and Thursday nights at Alabama, the voice of college football. Definitely appreciate it if you guys would subscribe down below as we try to grow this community, get to 3,000 subs, get to 5,000 subs. Alabama fans, non-Alabama fans, we want everybody to be here. Definitely sports fans in general. We appreciate all the support so far, but definitely excited as we get closer and closer to the football season, continue talking Alabama with all of you guys.
100%, man. And Jackson, tell the people where they could grab you, man. Tell them people where they could follow you at, brother.
There you go. Well, they can find me right here on Alabama with the Voice of College Football Monday nights, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Central Time, and on the Alabama Call-In Show where we take your calls, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 9 p.m. Central Time. But also they can find me on Jackson Johnson 979 on my personal channel, where right now I've got a premiere of episode 77 of the Jacksonian with Tiger Paul Craven from Clemson at the Voice of College Football, where we go over our take on the Clemson Tigers going into 2025. And, I'm 321 subs away from that magic number 1,000. So I'll need all the help I can get to 1,000 subs. And for more updates on what I've got going on Alabama with the Voice of College Football, the Jacksonian, or my once-a-week calls on the Paul Feinbaum Show where the weekends are full of surprises, check me out on Jackson VOCFB on X/Twitter and on Instagram and Threads at Jackson Johnson 543-908.
100%, man. Appreciate that. Roll Tide, everybody, to the cast. And you all know where you can find me at Coach Smook on all platforms. That's Coach Smook on all platforms. My primary content we're doing over there on the Coach Smook Network. As you all know, man, we've launched our full agenda here for the 2025 season. Y'all could have told me my camera was crooked while y'all watch me and laughing. I know y'all probably watching. But anyways, Coach Smook on all platforms. Smook Hines on YouTube. Also, we'll be doing a lot of our vlog content this season. We added a new character to the family. My youngin, my son, boss. Y'all gonna meet him officially here on a show coming up soon. But you want your informative, creative content surrounding Alabama recruiting, surrounding the team reporting. Definitely pull up on the Coach Smook Network. But for your primary informative reports and post-practice reports, so that's post-game reports, post-game show. You want to pull up to the Alabama Voice of College Football. This season, this is where all the energy is going to be directed towards when it comes to covering the Alabama football. And I'm telling you, you do not want to miss out. If you have not become a member of the Alabama Voice of College Football, you're missing out, because now this week we are going to start getting some hot takes here with this team that you're going to be seeing developed over here, where we'll be providing some of the insight and coverage from practice, being that we have some access now. We have some serious access now. My eyes and some of the eyes that we've connected with and networked with over the past 2 years, we will be on the scene providing you some insight that a lot of people will pay top dollar for. And we're not asking for all your money. We're not trying to break your pockets. We just want to keep the channel growing, and your support helps that. So support both on the Coach Smoot Network, joining the AAA family, but becoming a member over here on the Alabama Voice of College Football, and supporting every panelist you see on this channel. I'm your boy, Coach Smoot, man. We got Jackson Johnson, Coach Johnny Burks, and Jeff from Only Talk Sports. We thank y'all for tuning in, and we just want to leave y'all with a big old Roll Tide. So on 3, fellas, we're going to kill it for them, and we're going to say Roll Tide, roll on the count of 3 for our Alabama Voice of College Football family. And Voice of College Football family, don't forget, run the likes up and share this content. Hopefully you all enjoyed yourselves tonight. And on 3, my squad, 1, 2, 3,
Roll.
I love it, man. Hey, y'all enjoy the rest of y'all night, and y'all be blessed. Remember, keep your heads up, keep pushing towards your goals and dreams. And listen, support the channel, man. We got some serious content over here. If y'all love what you're seeing, like and share, and we'll catch y'all on the next one. Y'all be blessed and Roll Tide.